Hey everyone, welcome back to the Future of Work with AI. I'm Ryan Kohler, and today we're flipping the script on everything you think you know about workplace culture in an AI-driven world. So here's the deal. While everyone's obsessing over ChatGPT and automation, there's this wild statistic that should scare the hell out of you. Workplace engagement is at the exact same level it was when COVID first hit and we all went into lockdown. We're talking about a loneliness epidemic that's crushing productivity, killing retention, and making people miserable. But what if I told you the solution isn't another Slack channel or team building exercise? What if it's as simple as letting adults be creative again? I'm talking with Amy Wicklund from IA Interior Architects, Dan Cheetham, who founded FYOOG, and Britni Harvison, their creative director. These three recently presented at SHRM, the HR conference, with something that sounds totally counterintuitive, community art installations that actually build belonging at work. Dan told me something that blew my mind. We get prioritized away from risk and experimentation as we get older, but COVID didn't change anything. It just made the invisible visible. And Britni, she's figured out how to make introverts want to participate without forcing them. This isn't some touchy-feely nonsense. This is about the fact that as we go harder into AI efficiency, we're going to need equal amounts of human connection, or the whole thing falls apart. Let's be real. You can automate processes, but you can't automate belonging. Ready to discover why the future of work might look a lot more like third grade than you think? Let's dive in.
So yeah, I'd love to hear kind of like, where I know that we've got an HR person, a design person, and an architect, I'm guessing, is kind of our grouping here. So yeah, maybe let's go around.
I'll jump in. So I'm the HR one. So Amy Wicklund, Senior Director of HR at IA Interior Architects, which is kind of the umbrella company, I guess you would say. I've been doing HR for 20 something years. Been at IA for about 2.5. But I'm super passionate about workplace culture, people feeling engaged, people feeling seen, equity, all the stuff that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, very cool.
Dan Cheetham, good to be with you. So in 2010, I left 3+ decades of being an architect all over the place to start a company called FYOOG. And FYOOG really started with the intention of finding the overlap between art, music, and public space architecture. And so we really started, and Britni joined me at the very beginning, helping owners of buildings understand where the magic was and how to create magic. Like, why would somebody choose to be in this space versus that space? What are those kind of characteristics that begin to drive that? What are the factors that can be replicated in other projects, that try to drive that traffic and sense of community? So even before COVID, we were hyper focused on what were those integrated and overlapping elements that would really create a strong sense of community, a sense of belonging. And so we evolved for the recipe to that to include architectural solutions as well as immersive artwork features, and oftentimes both. They were integrated, so it wasn't a space with a piece of art, but it was all kind of one experience. And Britni was really key in that formation of providing that to clients. And so we, from the get-go, had a very small practice, and the idea was a networked practice model where we would partner with very big firms wherever we were working that had the boots on the ground in that city. They knew the entitlement process, all the ins and outs of that, and oftentimes knew the buildings better than we did, at least the kind of structure, mechanical systems, all that kind of thing. And through those partnerships, one of the partnerships was with IA. It was a global company with, at the time, I think there were 29 footprints around the world and in all the cities that we were already working in. And so we realized right away that there was this really interesting marriage between what we were doing and what they were focused on. We were mostly thinking about public space from the outside in, and they were mostly thinking about all of the workplaces, thinking about things from the inside out. And so those two things came together to form a marriage. And so we were acquired 3 years ago and have been part of IA. So we operate on our own, but we also operate integrated with all of the IA studios. So
Very cool.
Yeah, I'll go last. I'm Britni Harvison. I am the creative director at FYOOG, and like Dan said, I worked for Dan for almost 15 years now. So pretty much, I also have a background in architecture. I've not really practiced formally or anything like that. I think I got a little disillusioned with traditional architecture, probably because of the time in which I went to college. You know, I graduated from undergrad in architecture in 2008, and then I graduated with a grad degree also in 2012, and the economy was not doing great. So Dan hired me, well, unbeknownst to us, I had already been working for Dan kind of secretly with my then partner at the time. And then Dan put out a Craigslist ad, because that was when Craigslist ads were still a thing. And
yeah, let's cut the Craigslist out of the podcast, please. I don't want to be tied to Craigslist.
Hey, no, our first ATS system, we had 3 college students, and they were manually posting all of our clients' jobs to Craigslist because the clients wouldn't do it, but it worked.
Yeah.
And so,
well, it worked here too.
It
It's
worked
just when
here
you say,
too. Yeah, it worked here too. So I've been with Dan ever since, because I just thought that what he was trying to do was something that really kind of reinvigorated my spirit, and kind of what I thought I was missing. And it still is very reinvigorating. Every time we kind of reinvent the wheel and add something new to our practice, it just sort of reaffirms why I've chosen to do what I do.
yeah, well, and I think that's amazing. And it's a good kind of like lead in. Like, you've got this various group, and what Dan was saying, outside in, I'm guessing that means physically outside, like outside architecture, artwork, that type of feel. I've got a client I used to work with, Whitaker Studios, that builds kind of the wind architecture kind of art pieces that will flow. And you could just sit and, like, in an outdoor space, like, look at this thing that is moving and reflecting, and like kind of causes people to stop, right? And on the flip side, I now am a member of Kiln, which is like our local co-working space. And you walk in there, and it's this amazing place with 200 workers from 150 different companies. And really, it's not about the office spaces they have, but the collaborative area. It's funny, we like joke about like their snack time twice a day, but literally having deliberate time where they put out food that brings people into this very like amazing open space that they've designed, like, is what sparks conversation. And if there was just a snack bar that people could come and go when they wanted, it wouldn't bring them all into a shared space. So yeah, I really like, I think even outside of that, as maybe teams get smaller and you have more like hybrid workforce or work from home, heaven forbid, like, you still crave being around people. And we need not just like human connection, but collaborative things. So maybe we'll start off with like, why are you guys speaking at SHRM? Like, how did that process happen?
I can start. I think what we noticed in the course of our work was the engagement of people around art, and how art became kind of a galvanizer in terms of bringing people together. I mean, art can be polarizing too, so it's not always good, but it definitely creates a sense of unique place and community. And as we are working in some of the more core practice areas within the firm, which is what's going on in workplace, like the example you gave just a second ago, what if you could recreate that spirit in a single company where there was people looking forward to getting together that were working on different parts of the business, but they would share serendipitously, and from there, creative sparks start to fly, right? So we've noticed that with all the data that's out there, with loneliness, with sadness, people feeling disconnected, we all got really good at this, you know, having remote meetings for a long time, that there was a possibility to really take what we were doing and apply it as a tool, as a way to really create engagement physically. And so what we see in the workplace is attempts at that through various ways. But what we hadn't seen is people really trying to do that through the lens of art. So the reason to go to SHRM was to present the idea of taking this thing that we have a long history of doing, but in a new way where it's not us being the authors 100% of what we're doing. It's using the people that are there to generate whatever it is we're creating collectively. We have to curate it. We are professionals, so we know how to not have a mess when we're done, but there's a way to, I think, really draw
content.
Yeah, I think there's a way to draw people into it in a way that's very powerful. And so we've just started doing this, and as we've been doing it, we're seeing the power and the excitement in it. And we thought SHRM would really be kind of the ideal place to, launch this idea where people are really sitting with, how do we attract people? How do we keep the people? How do we get them engaged? How do we overcome apathy, loneliness, sadness, all that kind of thing? And this is, it's just one thing. It's not everything, but it is one thing that I think we see would be very appropriate for people in, HR management positions to be aware of.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Brittany, I'm guessing you kind of take lead on that, like, because you're, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're effectively trying to create like a community sourced artwork feel,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
not to like, I'm sure yours are awesome, but if we all kick back to like third grade, our teacher was there going, look, if we all build this little thing, we're going to create a bunch of handprints and we're going to put them on the
Right.
wall, and everybody will feel both a sense of I contributed and a greater ownership together of community. And then we lose that garbage, right? It's just
Right.
like, oh, that's childlike. Oh, that's whatever. And so I'm guessing that's like a clearly much more mature and sophisticated version, right?
We hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, we did actually for our presentation that we were going to give at SHRM, we put a handprint, the painted handprint on the wall as kind of one of our slide examples. It's a very, it's a very good point. I mean, as an adult, I don't think I've done any kind of exercise like that since being a kid. But you saw the excitement of that type of exercise, of doing something communally together. And I mean, even putting a handprint, even I mean, I know those little trees you used to make as a kid. Did you guys ever do that, where you would
Mhm.
there's like a Thanksgiving tree, and
Yeah.
then everybody writes on a leaf, and then the teacher makes it out to be this like tree thing? But and it's not necessarily about being the most profound or saying the most profound thing or whatnot. It's about the fact that all of it was there displayed collectively together, and you were able to kind of step back from it and be like, oh, I made this, I contributed to be a part of it. So I think people, even though we're curating the experience, people still feel like, they're able to see themselves in whatever we're, proposing and whatever we're doing.
Yeah. No. Oh, 100%. Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to add to that, that I think it also allows people's voices to be heard in an equitable way. So it's not the loudest person in the room. It's not the person with the, at the top, CEO or whoever. It's really everyone's voice alongside each other.
Well, and I think that is kind of one of the interesting things, whether it's like a company meeting or whether it's like, something like you guys are creating, like you can say we have community and you could take a group of 10 people and stick them together. And if there is not somebody curating that situation, we will end up divided up between the introverts and the extroverts and the loudest
Absolutely.
people and the leader. And you will end up back. I mean, you grab 10 people, throw them in a room to do something, and it will instantly redivide. And a lot of those voices, like you said, not the loudest. I think there's a couple parts that both of you just touched on. You don't have to be. We live in this world where we think the only person with an opinion worth listening to is the expert. And a lot of people would say, like, we'll do podcasts and we'll reach out and invite somebody to be the guest. And they're like, why me? Like, what would I possibly have to say that you would want to hear? And you're like, well, you have a human experience and other people have a human experience. And every one of us has something. Every one of us is a chapter ahead of somebody else and therefore has a valuable offering. But left without the curation, you end up with the same play out every time, right?
Yep. Or it ends up just looking kind of messy. I think that's one of the things that if everybody's kind of left to their own devices sometimes. There is no organization, and nothing actually really gets accomplished. So I think that, I mean, I know most of y'all have seen, community art that's not necessarily curated, and like where you'd maybe put some strings up on a wall, and at the end of the day it ends up just looking like kind of a hodgepodge of different things. So I think that's where we're trying to come in by taking something and providing some kind of structure to it, to where at the end of the day it's beautiful, and it also has a message, and sends a powerful message to people.
So Amy, from an HR perspective, like how does an HR person go, you know what we should do? We should build this community art thing inside of our building, and here's how we're going to justify it. And honestly, I think there's probably a huge benefit to bringing a third party in to curate it. So it's not like corporate down, like corporate's decided we're building this thing, that there's a third party kind of doing it. So I'd love to kind of hear that flow.
I mean, I think there's a lot of HR people out there that are struggling on how to do this, like how to create this sense of belonging. And there's a lot of things that you can do. What we found is some of those are great. Some of those are first steps. We talk about workplace identity walls, or where you share something about yourself, but we found it doesn't always tell the full story, and that having that third party to facilitate the creative exercise is what really brings it full circle.
Oh yeah, well, I would imagine you get a different response, Brittany and Dan, and have a little bit different approach when you're not the boss.
Right.
You're not the boss, you're not the manager, you're not the doer, you're not like, you're coming as an outsider going, this is our job, we put this thing on, and we have no pretense.
We don't have an agenda when we come in. We don't have that overarching agenda that I think some of, when it's all insulated within a company, maybe they have a certain bias or a certain agenda. We kind of come in as this outside force that is able to sort of, surpass that and look at hopefully the bigger picture of what a company is trying to accomplish without those biases.
So how do you decide? I know HR from their side of like, hey, like we got to figure out how to get these folks to belong. And I think as of today, we have maybe not the same feel of like 08, 2012, COVID, but you can feel a collective uncertainty of like what the next 3 to 5 years looks like. Like there's so much hype and so much hate around AI and around like you name it. Like there is just a significant amount of uncertainty that the one way to solve for that is to at least feel belonging.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like how does HR make that connection of what are my options and how should I think this through?
I mean, that's why we're presenting at SHRM, is to
Yeah.
show people, to show people what this looks like. And when we talk about, kind of what I was saying before, there's some things that you can do, but they don't tell the full story. There's still good steps to take. But connecting with that third party is where it really comes into play. And I think we need to balance out. AI isn't going to go away, so we need to balance it out with something. And we think that this is the experience that will help balance it out and help provide that community that we're all already seeking. Gallup's State of the Global Workforce report this year showed that we are at the same point of engagement that we were when COVID first hit and we all went into lockdown. So it's not improving, it's actually getting worse. So it's a huge need. It's why we're talking to these individuals at SHRM, and we want to be able to help provide solutions to a problem.
Right. So Brittany, when you guys go in, like what's your like approach to like polling because this is a very creative thing for you to curate, right? Like
I mean, specifically with each project, or
yeah, I'm just curious, like just from a zoom out, like how are you polling? Like, is it the vibe? Is it the culture? Is it like, how are you polling what's there to end up with something that is connected to them?
I mean, I think that's a very broad question. I mean, I think we first have, conversations with leadership first and foremost, and usually maybe a group of constituents, who, kind of know what's missing in their company, knows the direction that they kind of want to take with this. So we have discussions about them of like, what do you want to get out of this? And then that will usually, Usually when we do these artworks or community artworks, we have I'll just use paper pieces as an example. We'll have like a paper piece, and on that paper piece, we will ask somebody to answer a certain prompt, and those prompts will be generated hopefully based on, you know, whatever company we're working for, what's important to them. So if they were really into let's just say we want to know something specific about how our employees feel about this topic, we would devise a prompt that would be hopefully very unassuming, not too much pressure for them to answer, that would give the company some idea of how their employees are feeling about this certain thing that they would want to kind of glean about their company and where to go forward from that. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think you know, there's a few ways to think about this. One is depending on who the client is, we can design a unique experience that is just dedicated to them and their company and their DNA, their mission, their vision, all that kind of thing. We also have experiences that are more off the shelf, and it becomes more about the prompts that Brittany's talking about. And I think one of the key things about this is that unlike investing, say, in something that is decorating an office space, like an artwork or something that's going to sit there and collect dust, this is a system and it continues to evolve. So the systems can be reorganized, moved from building to building, reshaped, made bigger, made smaller, very, very flexible. The idea with this is that we do the prompts, but we don't stop there. We collect whatever information we get from the prompts. We feed that back. From there, we're at a different plane. We do it again. Maybe we move it to a different building to grab the community to come over to this community, and you can continue to evolve it. So, you know, I think one of the kind of breakthroughs with this idea is that it is a very organic system, and it's a very it's like work adjacent, so it's not threatening to people, right? And everyone's going to meet this in a different place. Like some people, yes, I want to join, I want to fill out one of these things, and other people are going to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. And other people are, well, let me wait and see. But we do it once, people see it, they read the messages, they're empowered by that. The group sort of gets bigger and bigger, you know, just in terms of like who wants to participate or not. So
Like generating FOMO, you know, fear of missing out goes a long way. So you see a lot of people in a group doing something, and, you know, even if you're very introverted, you know, maybe you look over there and you're like, oh, that seems like something fun that I want to do. I mean, that's the best that we can hope for in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I think, and you could take that with any kind of social experiment or anything like that. You have this like early adopter that are like, I do
yep,
stuff because nobody's done it. And you have the first followers of like, I do stuff because the early adopters did it. And at
yep,
some point you reach enough social proof that's like, it's safe to do these
yep,
things. And you
yep,
like, you take AI as the same example where you're like,
Right.
you have this thing on any new thing inside of a community, whether it's a new piece of technology or a new way to dress or a new, you know, literally we as humans, we don't care whether it's work or life. We follow the same flow, right? You have
Right.
people who do stuff to stand out, people who do stuff to follow the cool people until you reach social proof. And on the backside, you have the skeptics that are like, it has to be fully safe and proven for me, you know, the accountants and lawyers, and I hate to say sometimes HR people on that backside of the adoption curve are like, prove this is completely safe, and I will. And so yeah, I love that idea of that's how you're seeing that. Um, so yeah, so like from a like you might think community artwork is the output, but it sounds like a lot of the value and connection being created is the during the
the
experience
process.
of it,
The
right?
process.
It's the journey, not the destination.
Right.
Right.
Because even
And
the destination is just a reminder of the experience in the journey.
right. Yep. Yep.
So
And
so
it's
how long does that last? Like is this
Ooh.
months that it's going on or?
it can be different for everybody. I think when we initially conceived this, we were thinking that, you know, there would be value in changing it up like 3 or 4 times, maybe once a quarter, something like that. But for everybody in every situation, it's going to be different. We're exploring this now in like worldwide sporting events where we can collect data remotely, physically gather that community in a place for a very short period of time. And then that legacy of that community can go, somewhere else. So, it really depends on what the audience is. Like in a more workplace type culture, I think it's realistic to imagine that this would happen, 3 or 4 times a year easily. But depending on what information is gathered in the process and depending on how that starts to move the needle. And I think Amy can talk about what she saw internally within our own parent companies, kind of employee satisfaction, retention data. You might choose to do that more, quickly, more rapidly. It just sort of depends.
Yeah, I mean, when we did a version of this last year, all of our studios completed the exercise, and then we had an installation with it in DC. We found that with our engagement survey last year, the favorability rating went up. Our highest favorable question is our most positive, highly rated question, I guess you would say, is that people feel accepted by their coworkers. And that was almost 90% of the people here feel that way. And so there's a lot of things that we do, but we had done this exercise last year. So, it felt really good to see that, that people feel that they do feel accepted, that they do have a sense of belonging here.
Well, and I think you nail on something. It's hard to have empathy without context. And it's hard to feel connected if people don't have your context. And a lot of times at work, we're like 9 to 5, we're doing our job. We're not sharing the story, the context behind it. And it's very difficult to, again, have empathy about a human experience that you never understood. Like it's just literally impossible almost, especially if you are far removed from it. So my past company was 280 employees and 80% female, mostly working mom. Like I'm not a mom. Clearly, I don't understand that experience and how that flow worked. And for us, like our benefit was I paid for house cleaning. So when I left there, I think I was dropping like $500,000 a year on house cleaning. But that was a very non-benefit that a person like me would never have been like, you know what we should provide here? Because most of the loud voices at work were 401k. Why don't we have a 401k? And most of those voices were the higher earning, the dudes, to be honest, were asking why we didn't have a 401k because they wanted this 3% match. But where the real pain was like, I'm busting my butt at work and I go home and the house is dirty. And that's I went to the right instead of the left on that decision. But like that requires a high level of, I don't know what your life is like.
I think too that sometimes when we hear things like people are sad and lonely, we don't necessarily associate it with work, and it may not always be associated with work, but it's impacting the workplace. And so we feel we have a responsibility to address that.
Oh, 100%. To think that we can compartmentalize is a ridiculous idea. That we can like turn off home when we get to work and turn off work when we get home. Like, yeah, so I guess maybe if we go away from the like community and the feel in that and we get more into the data side, this sounds like you're potentially collecting a lot of information that could be very interesting, right?
Yep.
Because this isn't handprints and fingerprints. This is like feelings and emotions
Feedback.
and
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So are you building like data models based off of that then? Is that kind of some feedback loop into the organization?
We're just getting started with that, Ryan, but that's exactly the idea, is to capture that information when we get it back in the process wheel of building these installations. And then from there, there's a piece of learning that happens by all that share that data. And then we kind of launch from that plateau, based on that data. So it's been fairly, I'd say, altruistic at the beginning. It's more, the kind of prompts are more like, what are the big opportunities that you see from your position within the company, or what groups could you see more synergies with? So there's some real practical information that can be gathered, that can be actionable, right away. But it's also helpful, I think, to get more emotive kind of responses about, how people are feeling. Because I think if you get the Friday afternoon, email with a survey from the company that says, oh, on 1 to 5, or you get the little faces, with the pain, like, where are you today? I don't know that people really spend much time doing that. But if that's part of some other creative endeavor, I think you might think about it for a few more seconds, and you might put something down that is maybe more honest or more real.
Especially if you kind of go at it first from that more emotive perspective, asking a question that's a little bit more, let's just say, lighthearted, and isn't so, maybe company focused at first, but then, get people used to kind of answering that sort of question, feeling comfortable answering a question like that within the company, and then maybe transitioning it into more of those targeted questions once people feel, comfortable doing something in that way. You ask somebody a question. Let's just say one of the prompts that we used for ourselves was, how do I contribute to my community, which isn't necessarily work related. That could be very much a universal thing. We had people say anything from, I donated a kidney to, I walk my neighbor's dogs, that sort of thing. But and that has nothing to do with the business that maybe they're working for, but it also kind of does. How people live their daily life, as y'all said, affects your business, whether you want it to or not.
And it inspires people, right? So when you look around and you read these messages, no matter what you did, it's like, I want to be part of this community. Like, this is a really, really cool place. This is an awesome community. I want a piece of this.
But also,
So,
I'm not also like, I'm not alone. I think people always forget that, especially in the time that we live in now. Is we're so isolated and we're so doing our own things remotely that you really can lose sight of the fact that we are all on this planet together, and we're all kind of experiencing life in a very similar way, even though sometimes it does not feel like that. And these creative exercises, I think, even with our company and seeing all of these, in this case, it was flowers in a field. Reading everybody's answers was just like, oh wow, this person's kind of going through the same thing that I'm going through, or this person responded exactly how I did, and I don't even know this person, and it already just kind of endears you to that other person without even really knowing who they are.
Yeah, I think that's the power of, like, in a group of people surfacing a open-ended question. That, and probably the hard part for the data geeks, of like, that was really thought out, because like the psychology of the question is as or more important than the analysis
yes.
afterward. Because if you get the psychology wrong, like we do a lot of, like, I just am doing a rollout of AI to a whole team. And instead of me giving them a tool, I'm actually teaching them how to build their own tools. And so I have a AHA slides. It's kind of like Poll Anywhere. And so we do a meeting and everybody gets to answer questions. And it creates word clouds, clearly not as fancy as yours, but creating these shared word clouds of, what comes to mind when I say ChatGPT at work? And you get, oh, I'm super excited. Oh, it's going to be more efficient. Oh, it's cheating. Oh, it's going to replace my job. And you get very broad range of, like, or what have you used it for? And what do you wish you would use it for? And I usually lead the discussion up front with, like, what's the weirdest thing you've used this tool for in life? And that brings out this, like, very, like, oh, I took a picture of this rash and asked it what I should do about it. And it brings out, like, oh, I took a, it mapped out, I take a picture of what's in my fridge and say, what should I make today? And you get this very broad experience of, like, oh, that's interesting. And one group going, I didn't know it could do that. And one group going, oh, I'm not as weird as, yeah, it's weird. We as humans, we want at the same time to both feel like we're not weird, but also be unique.
Right.
All in one experience. Can you please give me the, I'm unique and also I'm not alone? And it sounds like that's kind of like, if you get the psychology right of the questions, you end up with the experience of those two parts. I feel seen for my uniqueness and I'm not alone.
Yeah, and it's pretty forgiving, Ryan. We can start with some softballs that are pretty easy for people to engage with. And then I think once you see it once and kind of experience it. The psychology can kind of almost has AI to it as well. It learns from what we just did, and then we evolve and can do that. One of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important to this, really fundamentally foundational, is the democracy of it. And you mentioned the third graders. I think it is totally normal for kids to be asked to be artists, and they will, every kid will tell you they're an artist, when they're in first or second grade. But our education system definitely prioritizes away risk, experimentation, big mistakes. We get prioritized into being able to be more predictive and results driven. And so people are really, as they get older, spun away from this. And I think one of the cool things about this is it does touch into, I think, a very childlike, because it's very simple to ask, a childlike yearning that I think all have. And if you look at the data, when everybody went home for COVID, everybody doubled down on hobbies, whether it's cooking, dancing, knitting,
Puzzles.
what puzzles, just
Oof.
tactile, creative, reading, whatever it is. And I think COVID didn't really change anything. What it did was it just brought to the surface something that was already there. It just made the invisible visible. And so I think in a way, we're really trying to capture that naive, childlike spirit of people to re-engage at that level. And what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So in a way, the psychology of the question, I think it does kind of go in that direction, but it can start very altruistically naive and be successful.
Yeah, I think you nailed it though. I clearly will go back to like elementary school. My mom was a second grade teacher, and she was my second grade teacher. And
Oh,
so
that's weird.
I rode back and forth to school with her and hung out there for like
Oh,
5 years. And so I have a fairly, she passed away like 5 or 6 years ago, and I have this very interesting connection to my mom and to how she did those things. And like you said, in second grade, there was these two versions of me. There was me who was really good at math, and me who was really good at art. And I didn't win some art competition I was in. And that was the first time I was like, hey, subjectively, this was great. And yet I lost. That's not safety. And math is very safe. Like, it is very clear if I win or lose, and it's my fault if I lose. Therefore, I can add up my win. And I think that's probably one of those reasons why we pivot. Like, third grade is the first time your art starts getting a grade, not a good job for turning in.
yeah.
Suddenly, some outside source who doesn't see your vision is giving you a grade of whether your art is valid or invalid. An expression of like courage on a piece of paper is graded as to whether it's good enough. And you see this pivot to more safe forms, math and science, and right or wrong answers, and history, where it's like, I'm either right or wrong, and I know when I'm right and wrong because there's a right answer. And art and music and creation, there's not right answers.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, that's
super,
the
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the creativity. I mean, I think that's the other thing, like the overarching, getting away from thinking of creativity as just this kind of artwork producing type thing. I mean, creativity spans such a broader category. I mean, writing is creativity. And I think people lose touch with being creative, and I think we have to get back to that ability of being like, I am a creative person, because that's what's going to open up the like brain synapses and create the better problem solving skills, at least from our perspective. But I mean, you still see it now. It's not necessarily third grade teachers giving artwork a score, but you have tons of people who think that they know what art is and what good art is and bad art is. I mean, we get that now. So that's people love to give opinions on art.
Well, I'd also imagine, and you can tell me on this, but I'd also imagine you're doing some switching where more and more people, and I'd imagine a lot of the people that you guys are talking to are more knowledge workers. I'm in my head and then putting it into a computer, and you switch them to a more tactile physical thing. Like for me, when I'm struggling, like behind me, you can see that light fixture right there. I'll go build something like that. Like that's a faux metal beam because it gives me some creative outlet because I spend so much time in my brain and on the computer. So I'd imagine there's even that switching that gives this different, like you brought up, a lot of people are cooking and yet they're a programmer. You're like, well, that's in, why are you looking for this outside of your norm? But it's because our brain thrives when we pull it out of the norm and give it something more tangible or more like, this is, go out and build a fire. This is something I used to do as like a human, right?
I found an article recently, and I actually wrote about it in my recent thought leadership piece, where it was saying that people who received tactile mail, so like actual physical mail, remembered and had more kind of emotional connection and more meaning to it rather than just receiving like an email that had maybe the same content. So I think there is definitely that quality of the tactile that has some sort of emotive foothold with us.
Oh, 100%. I think I've sent maybe 5,000 postcards this year. I'm trying to personally bring back physical postcards. So you create a picture on the front. There's a robot that handwrites a message in it, so it looks like
That's
it's handwritten
cool.
from me. And like, but 100%, like if you're an HR person or you're a business owner, we don't get mail anymore, and the mail we get is all bills. And all the marketers think that I'm stupid because they're like, that's outrageous. Like it's $2 a send, and I'm like, you're spending $10 a lead off Facebook. The hardest part being waiting. I'm like, so I sent these postcards. I gotta wait 2 weeks to get a response. I can get like a comment on a YouTube video in like 20 seconds. But I 100% agree with you. The more it's I think you brought it up, the balance. If AI is here, we need to find balance, and we're going to need to go farther to the experiential, the physical touch, the like community events. The farther we're over here, we need that
Right.
balance. But I think that's not like, we as businesses are not good at balance. Like if everybody's going virtual, we all go virtual. If everybody's going email marketing, we all go email marketing. And anybody who is still sending a handwritten postcard is nuts.
But I would venture to guess that if I received one of your postcards, it would feel to me like you're sharing more of yourself than if you sent the same content in an email. So there
put
is
it on my
something
fridge.
about the tactile quality of writing that we're trying to also tap into. It's very powerful, like leaving a mark. I mean, Britni has a great image of, the cave paintings of, how we communicated through stories, but drawing and leaving that mark as something that is very personal.
I still like as a memorization tactic and as a way to kind of ground myself in whatever I'm doing. I'll handwrite. I even write more specifically actually in cursive because I think it's even more emotive. I know they don't teach cursive writing anymore, but unfortunately, I loved cursive writing. So whenever I want to really memorize something and really remember something, I'll physically write it down as opposed to using a note taker, or even though that's easier and I could probably record a lot more content that way if I use something automated.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I have like a piece of paper sitting right here,
There you
even
go.
though I'm an AI guy, right? So I'm going to sketch out a set of flow, and then I'm going to hit my AI and speak into it in the same way. I try to get away from typing anything. Like I'm more expressive when I speak. So I'm going to speak to my AI. I'm not going to type to it. And even before that, I'm probably going to sketch, and everybody hates it, but I'm like, find me a window and a whiteboard marker because I need to express, to unpack that stuff by writing it. And it is a separate sense. Like it's a separate, 100% we lose that and we look down on that. And yet creative people do these things. Like high performers do these things. They may just not show you. Well,
They
this has
definitely use
been,
multiple modalities. Oh yeah, sorry.
this has been amazing. So I guess maybe we'll finish this up on the I mean, clearly like this is very high level, like borderline woo woo, like, oh my gosh, this will be so great and this could have this impact. And clearly it's easy to get people to go, we should be dealing with loneliness and that type of thing in the workplace. But when we tie this back from corporate America, like how do we get corporate America to see that that what Amy brought up. Hey, if you want to go all AI, that's awesome. You want to, build this massive amount of efficiency, you're going to need equal amounts of of compassion and connection and empathy, or this will get lopsided and fall apart. And I think that's what we saw a little bit with like the return to work after COVID. This like we skewed so hard to our data says without the our empathy says, and we saw a huge backlash from it. So Amy, I'd love to hear on your side, like how do you get corporate America to be like, hey, this is something important, this isn't like a press release?
I think it's just investing in your people. And you can consider it, there's lots of ways that people do it, but this is a different type of investment that is gonna fulfill all of those needs. You can look at turnover numbers, turnover costs, you can look at, all of these things, and you really should be putting in the investment in the people. Yeah.
Britni,
Yeah.
how do you see this work for recruiting? Like, are you seeing them share this out as part of a recruiting initiative? Like, look at what we are doing, or look at how we're doing it.
I think Amy's probably
I think,
better suited to
yeah,
answer
no,
that
I'm
than
thinking,
me.
I was gonna say, I think it's really flexible. What Dan and Britni have created and their vision, it's flexible to a number of different types of situations. I can see it being really strong in onboarding, in celebrations, whether it's like milestone anniversaries, things like that. There's probably a way to use it in recruiting too. I mean, I think telling our story about it in recruiting can be really beneficial, showing that we have empathy for individuals, that we care about our people, we care about their voices and their experiences.
Do you see your employees sharing the experience on Facebook or whatever? Are they talking about it?
Some did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
don't,
some.
I don't connect with people on social because I'm HR, so I try to stay.
She's like, I'll stay out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that we always talk about is like shareable experiences are really
yeah.
powerful, right? Like, hey, I could give you a 50 cent per hour raise. You don't exactly go share. Number one, you may share it. I got a raise today, but you're not going to share that all the time. House cleaning was a like killer shareable event. Literally, when I rolled it out, I'm like, look, you can hop on Facebook and complain about what a crazy boss I am anytime you want. But when the house cleaners come, I just want you to hop on Facebook, be like, hey, I got my house cleaned today. Thanks, Applicant Pro. That's all I asked. That was my entire ask for it. And so it became this drumbeat shareable event that when we would post a job, people would say, oh, are you guys the ones that pay for house cleaning? And any time that we had some of those, company parties or company whatever, building in this like share this, like engage this type of thing, opened up clearly not a direct I applied today because of, but more of an external magnification of what was going on inside our culture. And
Yeah,
so,
we haven't been doing it long enough yet to really explore that to its fullest extent. But the vision was always definitely onboarding. You're joining a community. It's part of putting your voice here. We are also exploring with some customers, connecting them with their customers. So the community that gets, so you create stickier relationships between what they're selling and who they're selling to. So I think there's a lot of application, both from an employee standpoint, but also a customer base where this thing can really apply very well.
okay, so if somebody wants to learn more about how to do this, because if I go land on the architecture side, it doesn't scream like we got a super cool way that we go about, like, how do they go about like engaging with you guys to say, hey, I want to do something cool? Like,
Yeah, we're just releasing a new page in our website that will give people a clear place to go to learn about it with contact information and all of that. So I don't know that that's up yet or live. Is it, Brittany?
It is live.
Oh,
yeah,
it is.
it is
Okay.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
it
think
totally is live.
start with our website. And then if there's questions, there's contact information there that
Very
feel
cool.
free to reach out.
Great. We'll get that linked up. So in whatever videos we produce, there'll be a link there in the footer. And so
Awesome.
if you're watching this video, go check the either the video itself will show up or it'll be in the section below it. But thank you guys so much. This was great. I'm excited for you to speak at SHRM. I bet I'm excited to hear back, like from a data standpoint, how many people showed up, because I do think that there is a craving for it. It's one of those, like, I know I'm supposed to go to an AI session, but I really feel inside like I want to go to a interesting way to create community one. I think it's one of those things that, like, we all know we should be doing it. We're craving it, but maybe it's not the coolest, hottest thing that everybody says we ought to be at. And so I'm excited to see how that goes for you guys. But thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for
We
having
hope we
us.
get
Thank you, Ryan.
people lined up at the door, so stay tuned.
100%. Well, thanks, guys. That
Awesome.
was awesome. Like,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. My 2 cents. I don't know that I'll be in your session, but will you guys make sure you record it?
It SHRM
We are.
does.
It
Yeah.
should, yeah, I think
Oh,
they're recording it.
I know they do, but I don't know if they give it to you. So make sure that you
We get
make
it.
sure that you number one, like, use Otter or a voice memo. Just hit, like, I usually have a directional mic on my phone, and so I just drop my phone and hit record. Number one. Number two, like, if it was me, find a way to record it, whether it's like somebody in the crowd with a video camera or something like that.
We've already thought about planting some
Yeah.
some select little cameras somewhere, as long as we don't get in trouble.
Yeah. Yes, I know. As long as you don't get in trouble.
Cut this part. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
yeah, we'll cut this part off. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those. I mean, bless Sherm's heart, but they struggle with, like, so when you guys do the session, is it a slide deck? Are you having them like engage, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so we have a presentation that the three of us are going to be giving, and then off to the side, so we're going to run them through an exercise where they are going to receive pieces that they're going to write on, and then those pieces, once they answer a couple of prompt questions, will then be incorporated into the sculpture that is being built off to the side. So we have a team that is going to simultaneously be building a demonstration of the sculptural piece while we're giving the talk.
And this is a physical sculptural piece.
Yeah.
Writing
Oh,
it,
yeah.
passing it
Yeah.
in.
Real time.
Yeah, real time.
Are they putting their names on the pieces?
No.
No. We have started. We kind of had this thought that, maybe anonymity is almost the way to go. I mean, nothing wrong. You could totally put your name on the piece if you want to, but I think a lot of people, might feel somewhat uncomfortable, putting a name on the piece. And I think it's more just about seeing the collective messages, in and of itself. But also I think people did this when we did it on ourselves last year. People went to the sculpture and tried to find their piece on there, which I thought was really funny. So I'm hoping people, after having done the exercise in the audience, I hope that after the session, though, if they have time, we're trying to leave a good bit of time for people to actually come up and look at the sculpture and look at what people have written, on the pieces of paper after. And I hope people try to look for their piece within the whole.
Are you then, like, what are you doing with the sculpture when you're done? Are you guys displaying it there at SHRM? Is it?
They're not letting us display it at SHRM, unfortunately. We tried to do that. We thought that was the best case scenario, but we have to disassemble it, and then we're finding another home for it after SHRM.
So
yeah, we'll do.
Hang on, these are cards on the front that they write something on, and then you use it that way or something along those lines?
They're actually, they're going to be little, the name of the sculpture is called Embodied. And so you're actually going to be writing on, people get to select in various colors and in various shapes of little different yoga poses. People get to walk in the door at the conference and then pick a person, just a colorful paper person, and then they'll take that to their seat. And that's the thing that they're going to write on, and that's going to be incorporated into the sculpture.
Gotcha.
So it'll be a sculpture of all these different people in different colors with the messaging.
And you can just choose. We're hoping people just kind of like choose a person based on, oh, I'm feeling very yellow today, and maybe a more excited pose, that sort of thing. So the idea is that they're just going to go with their heart, choose the person that they most resonate with, go sit down, and then hopefully answer the prompt questions. So the prompt questions will be, one's going to be more an internal question. So my strength is, and then on the other side of the paper figure, they're going to answer something about how they relate to others. So I support others by. So those are the two questions that they're going to answer at the SHRM conference.
So your goal afterwards, follow-up wise, is the goal of this, hey, we're putting this on and hopefully we get some positive feedback? Is it, hey, we're building a revenue engine with lead gen off of this and the goal is convert these people? Like what's
I think both are fair. And, you know, part of this is just to explain what this thing is and put it, you know, show real time how it works. And it's not difficult. So it's trying to demystify what some people might be scratching their head. Gee, how would you do that kind of thing? So sure, hopefully we'll get some, you know, lead generation out of that. And then we're going to take this thing and take it to one of our other customers and do another event, you know, with new parts, new personalization, that kind of thing. So
yeah. So if do you want some free unsolicited advice?
sure.
All right. So SHRM struggles with this. We're not paying you, but you're supposed to want to come and do this for free, and also you can't be salesy.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I might know this from like 50 of these sessions. Okay. So
Yeah.
they struggle with this concept, and you build a deck, and then they have you upload the deck, which means if people want the deck, they get it by downloading it from them, not you. And so you kind of have to look at the way to walk the minefield of we're not being salesy, but we want to capture your contact info, right? That's kind of number one. So one thing you might think about doing is like, you know, maybe get like a tripod with an iPhone and put it on what is the capture, not slow-mo, but the opposite, time lapse.
Oh
Put
yeah.
it on
Right.
time lapse and create a time lapse video of it being put together,
Right.
because that will give you something that they would want to watch, right? Secondarily,
Yeah.
you're going to end up with, if you record your session and transcribe it, you have what you guys talked about, and you have these cards with the poses and colors with whatever they write on it, which if you capture all that data and feed it into ChatGPT, you're going to have the ability to create content and ideas and information based off of what you chose or whatever. Best world scenario would be, that's why I was asking about the name, if you can connect that to the person. Meaning, if all they did was write their name on the card somewhere, like first name and last name, and then you create a QR code where they can put in their email address to get the video and whatever, you could connect those together. And so instead of a more generic, look at this thing we built, and when we take this, here's some pieces of content, I can make more personalized. You know, Sally, because you picked this yoga pose in yellow and this transcript, here's what it might mean to you. Like, here's a little more thoughtful thing. But if you just look as you're planning for this, because I know time's short, of how do you capture something valuable they'd like to see after the time lapse is a good one. A data model after, hey, we're going to take what everybody said and we're going to produce it into something beyond just this, like, you know, a really cool report or a really cool whatever. Throw a QR code that they can give you email address on. That will give you the, we're not being salesy. We're giving you something valuable afterwards, but we're able to connect. And so if you figure out, like, if you figure out those parts, I'm more than happy to help you with it. Like, it's, that's the hack though. You need the connected piece without feeling salesy.
Yeah.
But if you leave without, you'll get 3 to 5% contact. And if you have some piece of that, that's why I actually use the word cloud. So now that when I go to SHRM, I'm running Poll Anywhere with building word clouds on the fly. And I run that same flow that you're talking about, where I'm like, okay, number one, I want to make sure that I'm talking about what you want to hear about. So if you'll tell me what industry you're in and what your biggest challenge is, then I'll adjust my flow. And then number two, like, I know all of you would like to know how you compare to everybody else here. So when I ask, you know, where, how do you rate yourself on ChatGPT use, you'll be able to compare, see, you know, the greater kind of where you fit. And that word cloud thing, Britni, you're on to something. We love when we do community stuff to go see where, think about when you did one of those things as a third grader. You brought your parents over and you're like, which one's yours? Which one's yours? We are like 2 minutes away from being third graders, right?
It's true. It's true. It's
Mhm.
true.
And so that idea of like being able to find my thing, like even when it's a word cloud, you watch people and you reach your like your social proof to FOMO on those types of things. Like, oh, I'm seeing my word. Oh, it's the biggest word. Oh, I see how I compare.
I know they're going to be, I know they're going to be looking for their person on the piece. I mean, that's what we hope for. But yeah, you never get excited about something like that now. like that kind of show and tell, like, look what I did, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just my 2 cents, the slow-mo
Time
or
lapse.
whatever, time
Mhm.
lapse, super
Mhm.
hot, gives you a something you can deliver later, gives you something to go with it. Your audio capture, even though SHRM might be doing it, getting it so you can get your transcript, and then
Mhm.
figure out your easy capture, like QR code to email
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
gives you the ability, or we've even done QR code to email. So create a culture at XYZ company with a vacation responder that they can literally just email that email address, and you can make a QR code that launches their email on their phone with
Mm.
your email auto put it in and a subject and whatever,
Mm.
and that will give you capture, but you're not asking for all their contact info, you just know they have it in their signature.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's an easy kind of like, or bump cards, whatever you do, just if you figure that one out, capture the who.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll have
Yeah.
some really cool stuff to send afterwards. But anyway,
Yeah. That's
well,
We're
there you
hoping
go.
so.
awesome.
Unsolicited advice.
We're
On
hoping that's great. No,
That's
that's great. That's
awesome
great
advice.
advice. That's
Yeah.
great
It
advice.
sounds awesome. Like, I don't know if I'm going to end up down there, but honestly, from all the sessions I've seen, like yours would be the one. So
Oh, well,
Cool.
that is
no
a
pressure.
whew, no pressure. Don't give us a
No.
none
Do you guys have
whatsoever.
videos of some of these, what they look like at in companies you've done it at?
A little
We
bit.
we have a couple of images in there. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love, I'll have Emily follow up after, but like I would
Okay.
love to see some of those. I do think that I definitely think you guys are onto something. I think it's a
We
cool
hope so.
idea.
Thank you.
We certainly hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, what a conversation. Amy, Dan, and Britni just dropped some serious truth about why we're failing at workplace culture and what we can actually do about it. Here's what's sticking with me. First, that engagement statistic. We're literally back to COVID lockdown levels of workplace disconnection. That's not sustainable, people. Second, the idea that we've been prioritized away from creativity and risk-taking as adults, but we're craving it more than ever. And third, this one's huge. As we lean harder into AI and automation, we don't need less human connection. We need more of it. The FYOOG team gets something most companies miss. You can't just tell people to belong. You have to create experiences that let them discover they already do, whether it's through community art, shared creativity, or just giving people permission to be human at work again. If you're an HR leader, a manager, or honestly anyone trying to figure out how to keep teams engaged while the world goes digital, this approach isn't just nice to have, it's essential. Because here's the thing, AI can handle the efficiency, but humans still need to handle the belonging. You can find Amy, Dan, and Britni at IA Interior Architects and check out their FYOOG work. Links are in the show notes. And if you catch their SHRM presentation, I want to hear how it goes. If today's episode sparked something for you, share it with someone who's struggling with team engagement or workplace culture. And hey, if you're ready to balance your AI strategy with some actual human connection, that's exactly what we help companies figure out. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.